Okay, welcome back to the Talk Like No One's Listening podcast, episode number 22. There's some background noise going on here. I'm doing this in the field. I'm on the road. I'm traveling, recording this wherever I find myself. Right now, I'm in a post office. Just kidding. I'm doing a new concept idea for this episode that is kind of dumb, but it's my podcast, so nobody can tell me no. So I set myself up for what I like to call a podcast obstacle course. I have my session where I'm recording this podcast. I'm using Logic Pro. I have a Logic Pro session open that I use to record. And what I've done is for this entire hour, I've randomly placed a bunch of sound effects from like movie sound effects, libraries. And I just threw a bunch of shit randomly across the whole hour of background noises of different places. And as you can hear, I randomly scattered a whole bunch of effects throughout the hour. So as I'm talking, it might be a horrible idea. This might be just so distracting and stupid that you don't even pay attention. But I thought I would spice things up, and I will talk about what I'm going to talk about. But meanwhile, there's a lot of other stuff going on. And I just thought it would be cool to challenge myself and to see if I can stay focused and not get thrown off by all this randomness. But if it works, then it works. And then now we have the next level of podcasting that I don't think I've heard before from other people. So let's just go for it, all right? We're going to go an hour straight, no edits, no cuts, talking straight freestyle off the dome, off of a couple things that's been going through my head. And let's see if I can keep it together. Here we go. So today's episode, I will call, I don't know what I'll call it. I'll call it something like the YouTube School of Music, because that's something that's been on my mind recently, is the amount of information and knowledge that's being shared online, primarily YouTube, but also everywhere through social media. There are so many people now that are creating channels and accounts where they are sharing information and knowledge about music production and engineering, business side, licensing, all these things, which is great. It's just the awesome thing about the internet and about YouTube and just the way that people can share information. It's really like you don't have to pay for this anymore. You really don't. It's in a lot of ways, and for many, many subjects and topics, YouTube has made them obsolete as far as a thing that you would pay like a shitload of money for to go to school to learn certain things. Now it's a thing where you could just go online, be self-sufficient and self-determined, and you could just research and study a topic or whatever it might be, and you can find the info that you need to at least get started. And it just was never like that before. So what I have been noticing is that being a music professional myself, I can see who has good information and who has bad information, or who has just fluff. They're just trying to make fluff content to just get viewers, get subscribers, get likes, this and that, where I can tell they themselves are not necessarily a professional. They are just using this topic as a way to create a online social media presence, account, personality, whatever you want to call it. And all this has gotten me thinking about what is good education, what is bad education, specifically for this topic of music, but also in general. So, with the things that I've been noticing that are the good, the bad, the whatever, I started thinking to myself, okay, if I was going to be doing something like this, how would I go about it? I have some experience more just in real life, teaching people, coaching them, giving advice face to face, one on one. I've done that over the years with people whenever, I'm around somebody who's just knows that I do what I'm doing and they are maybe newer to it, so they would like some information and advice. I love sharing, and I've always felt like that's something that I've enjoyed because this path of working in music, especially this industry, is so hard, and there really is no clear-cut way of how it works. It's the Wild West. What's up is down, what's down is up, that kind of shit. So, as much advice as you can get from anybody who's been through something, the more the better. Because this is just full of, damn, who's smoking weed in here? But this, wow, this is just full of so many pitfalls on the technical side of just learning how to engineer, use DAWs, use equipment, use microphones, this and that, to the business side of things of how you carry yourself, how you negotiate, how you handle your billing, your pricing, how you network. There's just so many things that there's no actually real method of how you do it. Everyone's figuring it out themselves. So it's so easy to just make mistakes, make big mistakes all the time and not know that you're making a huge mistake, or like there are certain mistakes that you just need to make so you learn and you know what's going on, and some things you just got to learn the hard way. But yeah, it's getting a little crazy. The more help you get, the better. So with that being said, I like to help people for the sake of just getting, it's tough. I've seen so many people not make it over the years, and it's very sad. It's very frustrating. I've been close to not making it many times, many times, where I was sure I was on my way out. I was ready to just say bye and give it up, throw in the towel. And I've seen other people, colleagues over the years, come and go that haven't made it, and they've gone through the same thing I did of going to school, spending all that money, all that time, getting an internship, working hard as best as they could, doing what they thought was the right thing to do to keep them moving forward. But for whatever reason, things fall apart and they don't make it and they don't continue. And it really sucks to put that much time and effort and money into trying to pursue a career and have it all just fall apart. And then you just got to go move back to your hometown and start all over. Like, that really sucks. I've seen that enough times where it really sucks that has to happen. And I'm very fortunate that it didn't happen to me for just so many reasons, especially at this stage in my life. I'm not young. I'm not that young. I'm an adult and I have a family and whatnot. So now there's no option for failure at all, which is sometimes good to have that kind of pressure. That kind of pressure will make you push harder than you would push for just taking care of yourself if you were like single or whatnot. And so I have been feeling lately more and more that I do have a good amount of info to share. I have my experience, my wisdom, my experiences, stories, whatnot to share. And I feel like now would be a good time to do that because I'm 22 episodes into this podcast and I've kind of been very vague about what I'm doing with this podcast. I didn't really know for myself. I spent 22 episodes just trying to figure out what I, what am I doing exactly. It kind of just started out for fun, shits and giggles, just like let's just see what happens. I just want to see what it's like to do a podcast. I want to see how does it happen? How easy is it to do? How do you set it up? I've kind of gone through that. How do you keep it going episode after episode? How do you make sure that you have enough things to talk about and whatnot? What do you want to talk about? Because it could literally be anything. And now things are starting to form where I feel like, okay, I've been sharing info and not necessarily with the intention of it being educational or informative, but now I'm seeing that when I look back and I listen back to previous episodes and I've gotten feedback from some people that have listened to it and they've told me that they've found it helpful, a lot of the information that I've shared. And so that's been giving me good motivation. And then just with my experience of teaching and coaching people face to face, that's always been a positive response that I've gotten from those experiences. And that's, you're face to face, so you know right away for sure that the people are enjoying it or not, or if it's helpful or not. So now that that's been on my mind, and now that I've been checking out more and more, paying attention to what other people are doing online as far as trying to share information and be educational, I'm trying to avoid the things that I feel like are not effective, or they're just bullshit. Like I said, there's a lot of people that are doing it just for the attention in a way. I've seen a lot of people, social media accounts and YouTube accounts, where people are making these videos and they're small little tidbits and they're trying to make them very clickbaity. They're making a very slick looking photoshopped graphic thumbnail image so that when you see it, it catches your eye with the colors and the text, and then it has a clickbaity title like click this because I have the secrets to the whole universe of making music in this one video, so click on it and then subscribe to it. And then when you watch the video, it's like, oh yeah, this is what EQ does. And then you're like, what? That's it? Or they're just telling you what stock plugins do in Logic. Wow, did you go to school for that? Anyways, I don't mean to talk shit and criticize, but that's what you got to do. And yeah, and then a lot of people. Well, here's the thing. Everybody can do whatever they want. I'm doing what I want. Everybody else can and should do whatever they want. The only thing I want to mainly focus on is that if the purpose of this is to be educational and informative and to help other people learn how to do this, let's cut to the chase. Let's figure out what's the most effective way to do this. And I think there's actually no right or wrong answer. Everybody's different. Everybody learns different. Everybody teaches differently. So, and everybody has a different path of what they're going to take. Some people are trying to become a professional. They might already be a professional and they're just trying to get some more info, or they're just starting out and they are aspiring to be a professional, either as an engineer or producer, songwriter, or whatnot. Or maybe it's just a hobby. They like to make music at home. It's just a thing for fun, and they would just like to get a bit more tips on how to do it better and learn more information. And they have no intention necessarily to be professional. They just enjoy doing it, which all those things are cool. It just depends on whatever thing you want to do. I think for me, what I feel like is best for me to share is my professional experience, because that is my experience. So that's the thing. It's like, that's my experience. It may not be someone else's experience that's trying to teach and share information. So what I'm getting at now is that moving forward, I plan to start getting a bit more formalized and organized as far as turning this podcast and to be more of an educational thing. And I'll start doing things like, I'll start doing some YouTube videos and stuff like that. I'll start teaching I don't know what, but I gotta kind of take some time. I've been thinking about it, but I really got to get specific and figure out specifically what kind of videos I would want to make and what type of things I feel are the most helpful for me to be sharing with people. Oh shit. Some music playing. Okay. And so, yeah, I guess, I don't know, this episode could kind of just be my mission statement or whatever about what I think I'll be doing. And I'm glad that I'm putting on record because now I can't back out. Uh, I don't want to back out, but I'm just saying, when you say it on air or you say it, you know, in this format and you put it out to the world and you've said it, so now you got to do it. So I don't think that I am some authority and I really know any better than anyone else. I do have a good amount of experience under my belt, but I'm still learning. I've been doing this 11 years professionally and I feel like I don't really know that much. So that should go to show you that there's just so much to know and to learn and experience. And then I think these tiny little tidbit videos of tips of like, oh, these are the 5 tips you need to mix like a pro. Like, I think these, tips are not going to make you professional. Okay. Watching a video about how certain things work, techniques, EQ, compression, reverb, mixing, gain stage, and all these little kind of like, what do you call them? Shit. Anyways, all these different like terminologies that people throw out there to seem like these are important things, and they are important things, but I think people need to really understand that this is a very, very long game. Doing music in any capacity. It's just no end to it. So people just have to understand that these videos, quick tips, these tricks, these new techniques, whatever, they are great. Watch them. If you learn something cool, something new, use it, put it into your repertoire, whatever, great. But it takes way, way more than that to become a real deal professional at this. And there's what I feel I've been seeing that's missing from everybody out there is more of the human element, not the human elephant, the human element that goes into music. And that to me is where it really all is happening. Of course, you got to learn technical things. You got to learn whatever DAW you like to use. You got to learn equipment if you're using it. Learn mics. You got to learn signal, flow. That has to be your foundation, so you just know what the fuck you're doing and what you're talking about. But when it comes down to actually making music, either with yourself or with other people, either producing for other people, co-writing with people, engineering for people, you have to understand the human element, because that's the humans are making the music, right? And a real deep, solid understanding of what goes on between people is, to me, one of the biggest keys to success in this. And the crazy part is that there's no rules or guidelines, so every situation is different. So what's important is to develop this sense of awareness, this sense of, really honing your intuition, so that when you're in situations working with people, everything comes down to feeling as far as what is the next step to take, what are the decisions I'm going to be making. You got to feel in the moment always what's going on, and you can't let the technical side of things dictate how you're going to work as much as possible. Sometimes it just is, that's just what it comes down, there are certain technical limitations, but as much as possible, you got to go through your gut and you got to feel what's going on. You got to feel the music. You got to feel what the other people are feeling. You got to try to feel, and you got to feel like you got to try to anticipate and feel what the other people want to do before they tell you it. It's like that's how, just by yourself, just the creative side of things. You got to know how to let that creativity flow, because you can't thinking too much and being too involved with technical things will slow down your creative flow. So understanding your technical foundation and spending enough hours practicing and honing and really just programming all this shit into your head is very important, so that when you get down to it's like game time, like we're in the studio, we're working, that's not stuff that's like racking your brain. It's all automatic, so you can just get straight to feeling the creativity, honing it, capturing it, getting it recorded, figuring out what to do with it, building these songs, and keeping it moving forward. And beyond just the music is just the human interaction part of it. You will not be successful professionally working in music if you do not know how to be cool with people face to face. And that could be a lot of different things, because everybody has a different taste of people, of what type of people they like to be around. So you have to get a feel of the people you're around. You have to have a feel of what type of person you are, so you can know how do you fit with these other people in the room that you're supposed to be sharing this creative space with. A lot of times, people in the industry, you're working together with people and you're working in studios, and you might many times you are meeting that person for the first time that same day, and then you're trying to create and work on music with them. So you might not really know anything about them personally, but you're both there to work and get stuff done. So it's like speed dating. It's like you just got to get straight to it quick. You got to know what that person's about. You got to know what you're about all the time, of course. And you just got to know how to navigate that, because sometimes it's easy. People get along and the work just comes, it happens, it flows, and it's real effortless. But sometimes you are going to be around some people that maybe you just have a weird vibe about. They might have a weird vibe from you, and it might be an unspoken thing, but you got to feel it out, and you got to be aware that when it's there, so you know how to, I guess, just navigate it, massage it. Just know, like, okay, I probably don't want to hang out with this person outside of the studio. I probably never would be friends with them, but we're here, so we need to get this done. So let's just, what do I need to do to maybe adjust myself, my personality, my conversation with this person to make it as smooth as possible. And this is something that just you'll never learn at school. You'll never learn going to a real music school that you pay a lot of money for. As far as I've seen, you can't really learn this in a YouTube video. I haven't seen, because the only way you can learn it is from being in the situation. So all I can say is put yourself into those situations if you haven't. And then when you are in those situations, just try to turn on this extra layer of awareness, self-awareness, and awareness of others. And really just, to me, this is like at least 50% of it. It's probably more, but it's at least 50% of this process. So a lot of what I've noticed over the years from people is that when they don't have this awareness, they are hitting these invisible walls and barriers and obstacles that are keeping them from moving forward. Either just in a recording session at a studio, they might hit this creative block because of they just are pretty much blocked with this person, or even with themselves, or with the song in their own mind, whatnot. And I've seen people do this more on a bigger scale where it's like their career as a whole kind of stalls because they know what they're doing, but people just don't seem to like them personally. And maybe it's not like a strong dislike, but just for whatever reason, they just don't feel like working with this person again. And if people don't want to work with you, it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. People have to like you. People have to want to be in the same room with you for 12 hours plus a day. Wow. Where am I? Livestock. There's animals. There's birds. Anyways, where was I? So this is, yeah. So for me, I feel like these are the type of things that I think about that I don't see other people addressing, and that's what I feel like. This is the thing that I have that's unique to me, is the things I've noticed and observed in my career, and I think these are important things. The things that I've really experienced to be important, and the things that have gotten me to where I feel like I've progressed and I've continued through my career because I've learned these more like subtle, nuanced aspects of working in music that are just completely nothing related to music at all, actually. I feel like most of what I do now is because I've been doing it so long. I just the technical part of doing music is nothing to me. It takes almost hardly any effort of like my brain power to like do this. So which is great because now what I do is I focus way more. It's like almost all of my focus and attention is on just the human element when I'm working. Is just to pay attention to what everybody's feeling like, and to know something as simple as like, should I even be in this room right now? Should I step outside for a few minutes? Like, just get some separation. Maybe this person is just, I can see maybe there's something going on with them. Like, personally, they're having a bad day, whatever. Maybe they're just not in the mood to just talk. Maybe they need some space. Let me just step outside for a minute. Let them, like, chill out and then come back. Something like that. Or maybe they're feeling lonely. Don't leave the room. They might not say, but maybe they just don't want to be alone. They just need someone to be around, to share a conversation if they like, or whatever. Share, like, hey, I'm watching this funny video on my phone. Hey, check this out. Let's watch it together because I just don't want to feel alone. Sometimes that's the case. And maybe they got friends over. You're like, okay, seems like they really would rather just hang out with their friends right now. Fine, cool. Or some people have friends over and that makes them more productive. They want to have the energy of other people in the room and they want to keep going. So it's like, don't leave them alone because they're ready to work. They're ready to keep going. And yeah, right? So tips, these quick video tips of tricks and techniques and how to use this, how to use that. Not bad. Good. It's all info that can be useful to somebody, so it's all good. But because you can tell by how much of that info is out there, how highly would you value that information? The stuff that you see everybody putting out there. It's just, I feel like one of these trendy things that people are talking about in videos and stuff is game staging. Like, this is like some breakthrough, like wizardry kind of shit, where it's like, this is the most basic fundamental thing of actual engineering, not bedroom engineering, like actual engineering. And there's a reason for it, which I won't explain because I don't even get it. I do, but I don't fully. There's so many things that I'll say, admittedly, honestly, that took me a really, really long time to honestly say I understood things like game staging. That's something I learned way, way in the beginning, but through practice and experience of like doing it, like I didn't really start to focus on it until much, much later. So don't feel bad if you don't quickly grasp some of these technical concepts, like compression, like a compressor. I've used compressors from the very beginning. I know what they do, I know how they work, but to truly understand the essence of what it's doing and what the point of it is and how to hear it, as far as like what you're hearing, how is it affecting what you're hearing, that's something that took years and years for me to be like, aha, oh, aha. I finally can hear it, and I know what it's doing, and I know how I'm going to use it to shape the sound the way that I want to do it. I don't know. I hope this is not too distracting for people. I'm kind of having fun with it though. So, that being said, if you are interested in learning more about some of these things that I'm talking about, then stay tuned. I'm gonna start putting it out there and trying to make these clickbaity videos for you with slick graphic design, thumbnail things that just catch your eye with bright colors like it's a fucking Japanese snack commercial or something. Um, but yeah, I just want to honestly help people because I feel like I have this knowledge inside my head and I use it when I'm working, when I'm engineering with people and producing, but I can only do that. Basically, I can only physically be in one place at a time, so I can only engineer for people like one person at a time. But when it comes to sharing this info, I can just put it out there and then everybody can grab it at the same time. So I think that's a bit more of an effective way for me to just take what's in my head and put it out there in the world and see where it lands. And hopefully just I would love it if I could just help, if anybody that hears it out there, if it somehow gives a positive effect to their life of what they're doing, of pursuing their path of doing this professionally. If it helps them just turn on the light bulb and say, oh, now I get it. Or like this one thing, I was trying to figure this one thing out. Now I see, okay, I was wondering how that worked. You know, when those things happen, that's what I love. Because, you know, whenever it happens to me, that it's just so refreshing to just know that you finally figured something out. And I think when I've been thinking about how I would teach my way, and I had to brainstorm it and really figure out what's the point of me doing it, because there are so many other people doing it. What would I do differently? And I guess one of the main things that I have thought about is that the concept of teaching in general. Like, what's the most effective way of teaching, like, period. And what I have noticed from school in general, my school educational experience of my whole life, is that the standard way of approaching education is very very general and blanketed, cookie cutter assembly line. It's basically creating one curriculum that is just pretty much a rigid structure of this curriculum, and everybody gets the same thing. Everybody has to take the same course, take the same test, read the same book, this and that, and get graded on it for them to see, am I doing well or not? But to me, going back to the human element being the most important thing, the human element is that every human is different, and that there are so many variations and types of people and personalities and skill sets and just ways of thinking, ways of learning and understanding, that I don't feel that that works. I don't feel like that's the best approach. But because there are so many people in this world, it's just too much effort and work to try to like make a custom fit educational like curriculum for every single person. I understand that a school cannot individually tailor something to each person specifically. So that's the balance of like how do you present this to everybody, but somehow make it custom fit for everybody so it's the best fit for them, so they can make the most of it themselves. And I don't necessarily know, but at least if I try to focus down into just how would I teach, if I was teaching a class of people wanting to be engineers, and I'm in a classroom of like, I don't know, just say 30 people, what's the best thing I can get for those 30 people? What's the best, I guess, thing I can offer to these 30 people, totally different backgrounds and different career paths and different goals. And I feel like the most important thing I could teach them is not necessarily the technical way of how do you engineer. To me, it would be to teach these 30 people how to think for themselves and how to feel for themselves, how to be in these situations of working in music professionally and understand how to pull out the thing from within themselves that's unique to present and offer out to the world. Because those 30 people are those 30 people, and there's no other group of 30 people that are exactly this group of 30 people. And everybody's individual and has something, I feel like, that's unique that they can share that no one else can. Part of it comes from developing your experience, cultivating your experience. Like what I'm doing now, I'm taking my experience and I'm cultivating and putting it together and concentrating it to this thing that I'm going to push out. So the biggest thing that I would want to focus on teaching a class would be to get these 30 people to all understand how to find that within themselves and bring that to the table. Because that's the thing that only they will have and no one else will have. I wouldn't want to have some type of class where I just cookie cuttered and I just 30 students come in and 30 students go out and they have a certificate and they're like, hey, I took the class. I know what I'm doing now. I'm going to get a job. To me, I would feel that would be a failure because I don't think that would be effective for those people I don't think that'd be the most effective way for those 30 people to go out in the world and be successful. I think, of course, I got to teach them how to engineer. Yes, that's the foundation. But the real higher levels of mastery that you're going to achieve are going to come from you figuring out your own self. And not everybody is aware of that themselves. And I think that right there is one of the major flaws in education in general in this world, is that there is no focus put on to the individual. No one ever is guided or, advised to look inward individually. Everybody is being pushed to conform themselves to the mold, to the status quo. But that's stupid. I think that's one of the biggest things that causes so many issues for people in the world, is that we are a collective, but we're also individual. And if you focus too much on one side or the other, I feel like things get out of balance. People need to be aware of themselves and focus on themselves, but they also need to be aware of the group and focus on the group. We need to always, if everybody in the world just had more of this balanced view and they knew who they were and they could be comfortable with who they were and be allowed to be who they were, but also be aware that we are a group and let's take care of each other, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't that be better? So anyways, what I see is that coming from the standard educational world of just regular public school and college, everything happens in this cookie cutter way. So of course, a formal music school you'll go to, like what I did, is just doing the same thing. Everybody follows the exact same curriculum. They take the exact same class, read the same book, read the same syllabus, take the exact same test. And then at the end, here's your certificate. Go out there and do something, and here's your receipt. Thanks for your money. But like I said from the beginning, this shit is so hard. This doing music professionally is so hard and such a low success rate. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. Like, I feel like I still am struggling. Like, many people would look at it and say, "Damn, you've been doing it 11 years. You're definitely not failing." But to me, I feel like no. There's so much more to go that I'm not even close. Like, I have to keep working and hustling with this like I just started. Like I have nothing. And excuse me. Wow, birds threw me off. Fuck. Oh yeah. So no cookie cutter shit. Basically, when you get into this, the thing that will make you successful, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I could be completely wrong, but I'm just gonna talk like I know what I'm talking about. What I feel like is the thing that is going to be key to each individual's success is that they are being the individual, that they have the thing that no one else has, because there's just too much. That's one thing we've seen from the internet and social media and YouTube is there's too much of everything. There's too many people creating content, and just by default, the majority of it is not great. Greatness is a very, very small percentage of people that really rise to the top and become the big names that we hear today. The biggest portion of people are doing stuff that's mediocre or not great. Honestly, that's just what it is. Because everybody is basically trying to do the exact same thing without figuring out what is the thing that's unique to them, that they can really hone in and develop and turn into something that is unique and valuable. Then that's when people seek out people. They want to work with people that are doing something that, like, oh, this person has a thing. They have a sound. Like, they have a signature. I know it's them when I hear their stuff. And that could be, from all fields: engineers, producers, songwriters, artists. That's always a thing. It's like when you just sound just like somebody else, then you just sound like someone else, and there's like nothing special for you. And what I see is that, oh wow, people chase that. They figure out there's like this formula. Oh, if I do X, Y, and Z, like I saw other people that were successful do X, Y, and Z. If I just do the same thing, I will appear to be in their lane, on their level, and I will get a following, and I will get likes and subscribers and this and that. And now I got my thing going on. And what I see a lot is people, they use the social media aspect to help network and promote themselves, which nowadays that's just, you got to do it. But a lot of people will get wrapped up into that so much where that kind of takes over from their actual original goal of just doing music and getting their stuff out there and getting known. I've seen many people that were very talented, and I've seen this pattern so many times, is that they do what they do. They're very talented. They're hardworking. They start to promote themselves through social media, and you just see the change in the approach, in their demeanor, and what they do. You just, all of a sudden, they become a social media personality instead of like the music artist that they were, or the music professional that they were, where they seem like they're on their way, they're on this path, and then they just kind of plateau because they're doing pretty well on social media. And then it becomes like, oh, now I'm just creating content for my social media account to keep that going and keep building followers and getting more likes and this and that. But then their actual career plateaus. I've seen that just so many times, which is, I guess, a bit of why I've been very conservative in how I use social media. I'm not really out there like that. I don't self promote a lot. I don't have a lot of followers. I I'm on social media. I use it. I watch it, but there's a part of me that definitely is very annoyed with it. And there's just certain things that I see other people do that I don't want to be that guy or that girl. To me, it's a tool that can be helpful and useful to you, and I prefer to just keep it to that for now, at least, or at least just don't. I'm not trying to make my life, my virtual life, be like my actual life. I'd rather live actual life. So I'm gonna continue doing this. I'm gonna keep sharing. I'm gonna keep learning. Most importantly, I'm gonna keep learning and experiencing and having new experiences and new revelations about how this works. And it's kind of like I'm sharing my journey of growing and learning and expanding, evolving, whatnot. And if I manage to keep helping people along the way, great. Oh. So, wow. In the jungle, the mighty jungle. All right, I can't believe I made it this far. I managed to keep talking with only a few momentary pauses. This is gonna be funny to listen back to later. So, ooh, yeah. So what you're hearing is these effects. I kind of slapped them together quickly. What I did was on this track where I'm recording my vocal, I have a bunch of effect sends going to different effect buses with a different effect preset on them that I kind of just threw together quickly, and I automated the send mute on and off randomly throughout the track. So I don't know when these things are coming on, and because I just threw together the effect chain quickly right before I did this, right before I started hitting record, I don't fully know. I don't remember. I don't remember what I did exactly. So I'm hearing it as I'm recording, and it's kind of funny. But I think effects are cool. Effects are fun. They're the seasoning. They're the condiments of music. So it's good to make use of them. It's good to not rely on them too heavily, because some people love effects so much that their songs are just all effects. You know, if you were to strip it down to just like what's the basic music going on, what's the basic vocal with no effects, it would probably be very boring. There's a guy I listen to that I like a lot, but I feel like that is a lot of what's going on. Where I feel like if this was food, the food that they make would be like a meal made completely out of condiments. Like it would be a sandwich of like plain bread with ketchup, mustard, pickles, relish, mayo, jalapenos, chopped jalapenos, salt and pepper, some oil and vinegar, some oregano, a sprig of parsley, some chopped basil, and then they would like put it in a toaster, make it crunchy or something, or deep fry it, put it on a fancy plate, and serve it to you for like $30. And maybe with like good lighting or something, when it comes to the table, you look at it and you're like, oh damn, this looks good. And you start eating and you're like, oh my God, so much flavor. I taste everything. Wow, it's so flavorful. And then you keep eating it and you're like, is there actually anything in this? Is there actually any substance? I feel like I'm just, oh God, there's just too much flavor now. There's just too much, like, I'm just eating, I'm just eating condiments. What the fuck? Hey, why am I paying $30 for this? And then, I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. In food and music, always got to have substance. Condiments are great, but you have to start with something good also. If you are relying on the condiments to make your meal sucks. If you're relying on effects to make your music sucks. Maybe, maybe not, because like I said, there's one person I'm talking about specifically that does this, and I like the music at the end of the day, so is what it is. Maybe I'm full of shit. Wow. If anyone is thinking about, I don't know, I kind of been shitting on schools and engineering schools and schools in general. I just feel like there's a better way to go about it that maybe no one's been talking about yet. Because it's one of those things that's so standard, you just think school is school and it works this way, but I really feel like this whole time we've been lied to. They've been lying to us. And I just think that there's a much better way to learn and grow and evolve and get education and get useful information to help you do what you're going to do. But it basically just comes down to you doing you, being hardworking, being focused, being responsible, being confident in yourself, knowing what you want, like taking the time. It doesn't happen right away, but taking the time to know who you are and know what you want and know what's going to be best for you. And yeah, until you figure out what that is, things could be tough. So focus on yourself, focus on what you want, what direction you want to go in, and then start applying that to the path that you're walking. Figure out what's the way that you are going to walk this path. That's the best way for you to walk it, that no one else has walked before. And that's my TED Talk. All right. Well, that was the end of episode 22 of the Talk Like No One's Listening podcast. And I had this idea, maybe I was high when I was thinking about it, that what does the title of my podcast mean? Talk like no one's listening. And while I was probably high, I started thinking about no one. Who is no one? Maybe no one is just yourself minus the identity of ego. So no one, in air quotes, maybe just means your true inner self. So if you talk to yourself like your true inner self is listening, what kind of conversation might you have? Think about that. Peace.